7 Shocking Signs You're Born Again. What happens when you doubt your faith at 3 a.m.? The wind howled through the narrow streets, thrashing against the old wooden doors of the church, an echo that seemed to whisper secrets from centuries past. As the clock struck 3, the air grew thick with tension, and shadows danced around the dimly lit interior. It was a time for doubts and fears, a moment when faith felt less like a shield and more like a flickering candle about to be extinguished. For those who lay awake, tormented by their thoughts, this was the witching hour. The haunting sound of creaking would seem to amplify their inner conflicts. It was a symphony of confusion. Sarah sat on her bed, clutching her covers, heart racing. An icy chill trickled down her spine as memories of unanswered prayers flooded her mind. Am I really saved? She whispered to the empty room. This doubt clawed at her, making her feel exposed and vulnerable, a sinner in the dark. Just as she wrestled with her thoughts, a flash of light flickered outside her window. For a moment, her breath caught in her throat. Was it simply a car passing by or something more? With the echoes of the night closing in, the walls of her room seemed to close tighter, as if they were witnesses to her turmoil. What she didn't know was that this hour was notorious for revealing strange occurrences. There were tales of odd happenings and bizarre signs that had left many questioning the limits of their faith. A candle that burned with an unholy flame, a cross appearing upside down in the most sacred places, voices that echoed from nowhere. Each story was more perplexing than the last, each one tightening the knot in her stomach. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As Sarah's mind raced, she heard a distant tapping. Was it just her imagination playing tricks, or was someone or something seeking her attention? It was an anxiety-driven curiosity, pulling her toward the window. Peering out into the inky blackness, she felt an unseen force urging her to look closer. Suddenly, she caught a figure moving in the flickering light, a silhouette that sent her heart into a frenzy. Who was that? Was it a sign? The tapping grew louder, a relentless rhythm against the glass. Each knock seemed to echo her deepest fears, calling her to confront the shadows lurking just beyond her vision. The night held countless secrets and she felt inexplicably drawn to them. But the looming question haunted her: was this a test of faith, or the beginning of something far more sinister? A tremor shot through Sarah's body as she stepped closer to the window, drawn inexplicably toward the mystery lurking in the darkness. The tapping grew frantic, jagged and insistent, like a restless heartbeat echoing through the stillness of the night. She felt raw energy thrumming in her veins, both tempting and terrifying, pulling her toward the truth that awaited outside. She forced herself to draw back the curtain, the fabric feeling like an anchor restraining her from whatever lay beyond. The fog outside thickened like a curtain hiding secrets, filtering the faint glow of the street lamps. But there, just beyond the glow, she spotted the figure, a small, hunched shape moving slowly in the alley behind her house. Hello? Her voice trembled, a thin wisp barely breaking the stillness. The figure paused, its head snapping in her direction. And in that moment, Sarah's heart thrashed like a wild bird trapped in a cage. Shadows obscured its features, but she could see a faint reflection of light glinting off something metallic in its grip. The tapping ceased, replaced by an eerie silence that swallowed the sound of the wind. Sarah's breath quickened, a lump of fear forming in her throat. Should she open the window or call for help? The moment stretched like a taut string about to snap. Suddenly, the figure straightened, revealing a pallid face that sent a chill coursing through her. Its sunken eyes seemed to bore into her soul, and for an instant, she saw anguish, desperation, and something darker all woven into its gaze. Sarah, a raspy voice broke the silence, a name falling from its lips like a cursed chant, sending shivers down her spine. She stumbled back, her heart pounding wildly. "Who are you? What do you want? Help me." The figure trembled, its voice a brittle whisper that slid under her skin. "You must listen, there's no time." In that moment, everything else faded away, the self-doubt, the endless questions about faith and salvation. An instinctual urgency took over as she edged closer to the window. "What do you mean? What is happening?" "It's coming for you tonight," it gasped, eyes wide with terror. "You have to stop it before it claims you too." Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted, a crackle of energy sprouting from nowhere, filling the room with an electrifying jolt. The walls around her pulsated, shadows swirling like smoke. She covered her ears, heart racing. All she could think was, "Am I dreaming? Face your fear." The figure shouted, a haunting echo drowning out the pounding of her heart. "It thrives on your doubts. Don't let it in." Just then, the lights in her room flickered violently, plunging her into darkness for a heartbeat before returning with a blinding flash. And in that blinding light, Sarah felt something shift within her, a flicker of clarity breaking through the fog of uncertainty. "Are you ready to choose?" It croaked, the figure fading into the shadows as the light dimmed again. Her heart pounded in response to that last question, reverberating in her chest like a war drum. What was the choice? Was it about faith or fear? The answers eluded her like smoke slipping through her fingers. Just then, another sound broke through, an insistent guttural growl echoing from outside, primal and threatening. "Sarah!" The whisper turned to a shriek. "It's here." Will she succumb to the doubts that threaten to engulf her, or will she find out the truth hidden in the shadows? As the growl crescendoed into an overwhelming roar, Sarah knew she had little time left to decide what terrible reality awaited her outside. The growl reverberated through the air, rattling Sarah to her core. It was closer now, a dark pulse making the walls tremble. She felt sweat bead at her brow, every instinct screaming at her to turn away, to hide, but there was something deeper pulling her forward. The figure in the shadows, its urgency still echoing in her mind, pushed her to confront whatever terror waited outside. "Stop it before it claims you too," the words twisted like barbed wire in her mind. With shaky hands, she gripped the windowsill, the rough wood pressing into her palm as she peered out. The fog clung to the ground thick as a quilt, distorting shapes and sounds. She couldn't see much, but the growl rumbled again, a low warning that sent chills cascading down her spine. "Face your fear," echoed in her thoughts. She drew in a shaky breath, trying to muster her courage, forcing herself to confront the darkness, to peel back the layers of dread draping over her like a shadowy cloak. Then there it was, a flash of movement. Something huge, furry and with eyes that glowed like embers moved purposefully through the fog, circling closer like a predator savaging its prey. Her heart hammered against her ribcage, battling against the urge to flee. Instinctively, she took a half step back, but then she remembered the figure. In that moment of hesitation, a sudden jolt of warmth unfurled in her chest, igniting her uncertainty into fiery determination. She couldn't run. Run from what? The truth? The fear? "I want to let you in," she shouted into the fog, her voice unwavering, breaking through her own fear. The growl stopped, as if the creature outside sensed her resolve. And then, silence. Heavy, suffocating silence that filled the air with an almost tangible weight. Outside, the metallic glimmer in the creature's hand caught the light, reflecting a hint of silver against the darkness. Was it a weapon? A glimmer of protection, or did it mark it as something more sinister? "Sarah." The raspy voice returned in her mind, twisting her stomach into knots. "You need to trust yourself." Clenching her jaw, she looked down at her own hands, trembling but free. Hadn't she spent too long doubting herself? Hadn't her faith wavered long enough? It was time to fight against the invisible chains that threatened to ensnare her. Out of instinct, she grabbed an old shoebox from her bedside table, anything to defend herself, only to find herself clutching a crumpled photo. It was a picture of her and her sister, smiling carefree under a bright summer sun. Instantly, an emotional swell washed over her. Love. Connection. Strength. Suddenly, the growl erupted again, ferocious yet almost frustrated. Was it angry at her defiance? She felt the raw energy building in her veins, echoing back to the figure's words telling her to face her fear. She had to decide. Did she let the fear rule her life or did she become the light in the dark? "Come on, you coward," she taunted, words pushing through her trembling lips. It could sense her defiance, she could feel it. But then came a thunderous crash and impact that rattled the very bones of her house. The creature lunged forward, bursting through the fog like a beast unleashed. Sarah gasped, the sudden roar of feral rage engulfing her. The shadows writhed, threatening to swallow her hold. In that crucial moment, the question unspooled in her mind clearer than ever: would she fight or submit? Just as the fog seemed ready to engulf her, she stepped back from the window, voice steady and fierce. "I choose to fight." But just then, a voice called out, clear as a bell, echoing from the darkness beyond, "You're not ready for what's coming." The world around her spun, chaos erupting anew. How many more secrets lingered just beyond the edge of that fog? And then, she realized, the choice was only the beginning. Sarah felt the air shift, thickening with tension as the unknown menace lingered outside, a predator sensing an opportunity. She fought the rising panic in her chest, standing her ground even as fear coiled around her like a constrictor. The voice sank into her mind, a haunting reminder of the struggle she faced. "You're not ready for what's coming." It echoed in her ears, tightening the knot of dread that was quickly forming. A chilling silence followed the ominous proclamation, broken only by the sound of her own heartbeat, which thundered in her ears like a drum. And then, with a startling clarity, she remembered the photo in her hand. The image of her sister flashed before her, radiating warmth, a beacon of light amidst the dark storm brewing outside. Wasn't that love and memory worth fighting for? As if in reply to her thoughts, the shadows around her deepened, vibrant and alive. She could almost feel the growling presence pushing closer, an unseen force clawing at her willpower. A rush of adrenaline surged through her, she felt alive, more than ever. With a tight grip around that crumpled photo, she infused it with her newfound resolve. "Bring it on," she shouted, defiance lacing every syllable. With a newfound ferocity, she stepped back toward the window, a primal urge urging her to return to the very edge of her fear. From the depths of the fog emerged something unmistakably terrifying. The hulking form was very much alive, a grotesque silhouette with glowing eyes and a snarl that dripped with malice. For a split second, shock held her captive. It was consuming, this raw, visceral embodiment of fear, a reminder of everything she had ever faced but had never truly acknowledged. Then came the growl again, a low rumble that shook the floor beneath her. She braced herself against the window frame, her mind racing. Questions screamed through her thoughts. What did it want? How could she confront something so dark, so primal? Was this her reckoning? Suddenly, those embers of doubt lit up her spirit. "You're nothing but a shadow," she cried out into the encroaching dark, her voice tinged with a conviction she didn't even know she had. "You won't take me down." The creature paused, its eyes narrowing, almost puzzled by her boldness. This was how fear worked. It always silenced its victims, didn't it? But before she could process the implications, the window shattered. Little shards of glass flew outward, glinting against the fog like stars briefly cutting through the night. She staggered back, the brilliance of her spirit dimming for just a moment as panic spiraled. A shadow lunged into the room, looming over her with an electric pulse of terror vibrating between them. Then she felt it, the rush of something subtle yet unmistakable, an almost electric charge swirling through the air. The figure was both a chasm of darkness and a distorted reflection of herself. In that breathless moment, all the fear she carried manifested before her, her own vulnerabilities morphing into this creature of nightmares. "You think you're strong?" the voice echoed, a maddening mix of growls and whispers, probing the very core of her insecurities. "What have you ever faced that you didn't run from?" She clenched her fists, determination igniting like fire. "I've faced more than you know." Each word resonated through the space between them, and she understood this was the heart of her battle. To wage war against not just the creature, but the shadows dwelling within her own soul. Then show me, the beast spat, eyes flickering with a dreadful promise. Let us see if you can rise above the ashes. With a resolve she'd never felt before, Sarah steadied herself, preparing for a confrontation that would force her to confront everything she ever ran from. In that moment, time slowed, the air electric with the tension of fierce anticipation. But just then, another voice split through the air like a knife. You're not alone, Sarah. The unexpected words spun her heart, grounding her in a reality she hadn't expected. Who was it? And how could they help her? Against such a force, dread churned within her, but with it came a spark of hope. Would they reveal more to her than just fear? Would they help her discover the strength buried deep inside her? The shadows twitched, swirling with new energy, and Sarah braced herself for the truth that would either shatter or solidify her resolve. What awaited was more than just darkness, what awaited was the possibility of light. As she stood on the precipice of that moment, a haunting revelation echoed through her. The choice is only the beginning, but the truth could change everything. What awaited her next? The shadows rippled as Sarah turned, breath hitching in her throat. The voice was both familiar and foreign, resonating in ways her heart wanted to trust. Her pulse quickened. Who said that? She managed to stammer, half expecting someone to step out of the dark, but the only response was the monstrous growl that vibrated through her bones. I'm here, the voice called again, a tethered sound that echoed in the silence, firm and reassuring. It's me, Jamie. Her sister's name sent a rush of warmth blossoming in her chest, overshadowing the creeping dread. Jamie? The name crumbled like ash on her lips when the fear encroached again. But, how are you here? From the corner of her eye, the creature shifted, impatience rippling in its sinewy limbs. Sarah, listen. Jamie's voice cut through the murk, infused with urgency. You have to focus. I know what you're facing. It's everything you've tried to run from. But you have the strength to face it. Strength? Sarah's voice cracked, barely a whisper against the rising chaos. This thing, it's not just some shadow. It's my fear, my failures, my past. Exactly. Jamie pressed, her tone fierce. And you can't let it consume you. Use it, transform it into power. Remember what you've learned. Remember our promises. All at once, a clearer image of her sister embraced her mind, their shared laughs and whispers during late-night sleepovers, their pact to always have each other's backs. With the memory came a tidal wave of resolve. Jamie was right. Sarah wasn't just fighting some mindless creature, she was battling the core of her own being. Face your darkness. Jamie shouted, pushing through the wall of fear that tried to suffocate Sarah. The beast inched closer, its eyes narrowing with predatory intelligence. Your sister can't save you. She's just a flicker in your memories. You will always be alone. No. Sarah screamed, feeling the heat bloom within her, invigorating her very bones. I want to let you win. Jamie is my sister, and she is here to stay. Lashing out against the darkness within, the air bristled around her, crackling like electricity. Memories of loss morphed into fortitude, and she felt courage rising from the ashes of her sorrow. She took a step forward, pushing back against the encroaching fear. Show me. The creature roared, lunging at her, jaws snapping with ferocity. Time seemed to suspend as Sarah's heart raced. She could feel the weight of her past crashing around her like waves, threatening to pull her under. But she clenched her fists tighter, digging into the core of her own truth. Fear doesn't define me. The words surged forth, raw and unfiltered. I define my own strength. The room trembled, the shadows recoiling as if her words were tangible weapons. The darkness thrashed and retreated like a wounded animal, unsure how to combat the light inside her. Suddenly, all fell silent. The air hung thick with anticipation, the creature halted mid-lunge, its confusion palpable. In that fragile quiet, she could hear Jamie's calming whispers, reverberating in harmony with her heart. Then, in a flash of blinding light, an ethereal figure emerged next to her, shimmering like a candle flame against the encroaching dark. It resembled Jamie, but there was a brilliance to her now, a purity laced with unbreakable spirit and faith. "Don't give up," the figure urged, her eyes burning bright. "You carry not just your fears, but the love that binds us. Together, we can overcome." In that heartbeat, Sarah felt the truth she'd been seeking. She had the strength of her sister, of their bond, of every past triumph that had built her. The creature shrunk away, flickers of hesitation dancing across its monstrous features, its voice weakening. "Impossible, you're just a girl." "No," Sarah retorted, her voice echoing with newfound power. "I'm so much more." The shadows hissed, swirling chaotically as the light grew brighter, illuminating the darkness in conflicted shadows. But in that moment, Sarah knew she had a choice. Would she allow her fear to return, or would she stand firm beside the love that encompassed her? As trembling shadows receded, new echoes of doubt began to swirl within her. But is this truly enough? The creature recoiled as if sensing her hesitation, its shape flickering wildly. Just a heartbeat away from clarity, Sarah held her breath. What came next could tip the scales in either direction. "Sarah!" Jamie's voice rang out, urgent yet soothing. "Trust yourself. Embrace your truth." But could she? The answer hung in the air, thick with uncertainty. And just as the shadows began to blur, Sarah found herself teetering on the edge of revelation, a deeper truth about to bloom. What lay ahead was unknown, a chasm of choices that branched into the infinite. Would she summon the strength once more, or would the darkness swallow her whole? The pivotal moment hung in the air, and the silence begged for resolution. Every part of Sarah felt electrified as fear and hope collided inside her. With Jamie beside her, this radiant version of her sister lighting a path through the pervasive darkness, she understood the weight of the moment. All her past demons unfolded before her, a chaotic mural of broken promises and failures clawing for attention. But Jamie's fierce spirit wrapped around her, fortifying her resolve. "You know what we've overcome, Sarah," Jamie said, her voice echoing like an anthem against the encroaching night. "This is just one more step. Just breathe and trust yourself." The creature grew agitated, its growl rumbling deeper and more insistent. "You think you can defy me? I am the ghosts of all that hurt you." The shadows writhed as if the words were tangible whips, cracking against Sarah's skin, reminding her of every moment she felt unworthy. "Not anymore." Sarah shot back, her voice gaining strength. Each word sliced through the suffocating dread that threatened to cocoon her. She remembered those nights spent studying with Jamie, the endless laughter that had once bubbled between them. It was time to reclaim that energy. "I've fought to build myself from ashes, and I will rise again." With her hands clenched into fists of determination, she drew upon every shared memory with Jamie. They had made promises, words cemented through endless giggles and whispered dreams. And now, those memories transformed into blazing energy, a halo of light surrounding them, daring the darkness to advance. "No." The creature recoiled, uncertainty flickering through its monstrous form. Shadows warped, curling away like leaves in an autumn wind. "You're nothing but a reflection, a phantom. Then let us see which phantom is stronger." Sarah's heart thundered in her chest as she took a defiant step forward, Jamie's luminescent presence steadying her. A pulse of light shot from her outstretched hand, exploding against the creature like a shockwave. The darkness twisted and howled, paralyzed by the unexpected onslaught. Sarah's heart surged, the air around her shimmered, vibrant and alive. She was no longer trapped in the past, she was here, fully present, a force of her own making. "You think you can erase your history, your pain?" The creature snarled, its voice turning desperate. "You will always carry me." "No," Sarah declared, summoning every ounce of strength. "You're just a part of me. I'll use the pain, the lessons, the love, it's what makes me stronger. The light intensified, overwhelming the creature. Its form began to dissipate, shadows melting away into nothingness, and for a moment, silence reigned. Sarah drew in a deep breath, struggling to grasp the reality of what was happening. Suddenly, a familiar warmth washed over her. This time, it was not fear creeping in but a calm certainty, a deep conviction flowing through her veins. "What now?" she whispered, still feeling the electric tingle of triumph in her hands. "Is it gone?" Jamie reached out, a soft smile illuminating her face. "You've done it, Sarah. You've taken the first step. But remember, darkness can return. It changes, it adapts." A shadow curled back, hesitant but looming. Its form began to twist, not in a monstrous shape but as a looming specter of doubt, creeping back through the corners of the room. "Accept you will have doubt, but don't let it own you." Jamie's voice remained steadfast. "That's how it weakens. How you become stronger." But before Sarah could respond, the room quaked underfoot. The foundation shuddered as cracks appeared in the walls, a rift forming beneath their feet, tempting, frightening. What is happening?" she stammered, watching as the shadows congealed into a new form, twisting and reshaping into something more terrifying than before. "Close your eyes and remember your truth," Jamie urged, her smile faltering as new shapes began to rise from the curling darkness, shapes that looked hauntingly familiar. Faces of her past, faces of regret, surfaced, whispering promises and fears blended into a tapestry of torment. Sarah's breath quickened. "I thought I faced my fears." "You faced one layer," Jamie replied, her voice low but filled with faith. "Now, stand your ground and be brave. Embrace this next truth." The ground shifted again, opening deeper into chaos as shadows began to erupt, clawing for her attention. Yet, despite the chaos swirling around her, Sarah felt a flicker of hope ignite within. What new challenges awaited her? And for a moment, she hesitated, stepping toward the unknown or retreating into the shadows, whether the confrontation loomed ahead was the one she feared the most. What new revelations lay buried beneath the deconstructing fears? Only time would tell. The ground trembled as the shadowy forms twisted into crystalline outlines, distorted reflections of Sarah's past. Faces flashed before her, her childhood failures, friendships that dwindled, and harsh words echoing as if the very walls were eager to hold on to every scar she bore. Panic clawed at her chest. They were not just shapes, they were stories, pieces of a life that tried to trap her once more. "Face them." Jamie's voice cut through the chaos, reminding Sarah of the bond they had forged in resilience. "You've shed skin before, remember. Do not let them claw you back into despair." Sarah's breath hitched. A part of her wanted to flee, slip back into oblivion where pain was a distant whisper instead of a screaming chorus. But there was Jamie, standing tall and unwavering. The light they had ignited together still flickered, chasing away the smothering gloom. The first face emerged fully from the shadow, her high school nemesis, Rachel, a flicker of derision dancing in her eyes as she taunted, "Remember when you thought you could outshine everyone? Look at you now, filled with doubt." A shudder rippled through Sarah. "You don't define me," she shouted, forcing her voice to break through the din. The memory flickered, but then another one joined, the sound of her mother's disapproving voice, laden with disappointment. "You'll never be enough, Sarah. Why can't you just comply?" Raw emotion surged inside her, but she pushed back. "I am enough. I have grown beyond your expectations." Jamie's presence pulsed with love beside her, steadying her. Together, they formed an unbreakable barrier against the rising tide of memory, against the whispers threatening to pull her down, but the faces multiplied, each wearing expressions of incredulity and scorn, venomous laughter echoing. Grief glazed Sarah's eyes as tears threatened to escape. "I don't want to feel this anymore," she cried out, her voice cracking. "Let it out," Jamie urged, her hands held tightly in Sarah's, a lifeline in the unsettling abyss. This is your transformation. You must release it. As if their bond fueled a spark, a white-hot light expanded from Sarah. It rose from her core, blasting through the encroaching shadows. The faces contorted, slices of her past writhing beneath the heat of her truth. They shrieked, fading like echoes in a cavern, but new figures streamed in, more horrifying than before. Was this what Jamie meant by layers? Each layer brought harsh revelations, specters of mistakes she thought long buried. Faces of lost friendships and wasted opportunities, specters of love lost and passion misplaced. They danced at the edges of her vision, always beckoning, always taunting. You'll never escape. A voice echoed from somewhere deep within the darkness, sending icy tendrils of despair through Sarah's veins. No, I'm stronger than this. She shouted, the inflection of fear deepening as she stepped forward, hand reaching out to grasp every fragment of pain, every ounce of heartbreak. You are part of me, but not my master. The ground shook so violently that it felt like a storm was brewing within her, swirling emotions colliding. Embrace it, Jamie chanted, her faith anchoring Sarah against the tempest raging around them. All of it, even the fear. That's how you take control. Just then, a booming roar erupted from the shadows, deeper than before, almost sentient, echoing the anguish of countless souls held captive. The walls trembled and darkness surged toward them, attempting to swallow them whole. Was this the end of Sarah's newfound power? Fight! Jamie yelled over the rumble, pushing Sarah forward. You can harness it. In a thunderous pulse, Sarah drew upon everything: her pain, her struggles, her laughter, her love, and with unwavering clarity, she screamed, this may be my past, but it does not determine my future. With every word, a blinding light erupted, ripping through the suffocation. The shadowy figures shrieked, their forms disintegrating like sandcastles against the tide. But just as clarity began to settle, a whisper slithered through the din: a promise. You might have conquered one part, but there will always be more. The words hung heavy in the air as the ground cracked wider, revealing another layer of darkness below, more fathomless than the last. What awaited them in the depths? Would it be salvation or deeper despair? The answers hung like a bitter promise, just out of reach. Sarah's heart raced as the ground beneath them quaked with ominous fury. The shadowy depths writhed, and she could feel the cool breath of something ancient and hungry rising from below. It simmered with a promise of nightmares yet to come, and dread pooled in her stomach. Jamie, what if this is it? She gasped, her voice trembling. Panic seeped into her very being, seeking the cracks in her newfound resolve. The swirling darkness seemed to pulse, eager to drag her down where the weight of despair would swallow her whole. Don't think that way. Jamie's eyes blazed with fierce determination, a beacon in the swirling chaos. You've faced down your past. Remember that light we've ignited. Use it. We're not done fighting. Clenching her fists, Sarah felt that warmth flicker within her. But fear clawed at her consciousness, whispers taunting her from the void. You think you can rise above this? You've conquered nothing. Just then, another face emerged from the writhing shadows, a blurred visage of an old lover, Ryan. His expression was a twisted mixture of disappointment and anger. You think you can escape us? You led me to believe you could change, Sarah. But where are you now? Tears streamed down her cheeks, memories surging back, a tidal wave of guilt crashing over her. I tried for us. She shot back, her voice cracking. I tried to be someone worthy, but I'm not defined by my mistakes. With that proclamation, a fissure of light erupted from her core, flickering like a distant star in the murky expanse. She stood on the precipice of surrender but held tight to Jamie's reassuring grip, but new horrors emerged, shifting through the shadows like smoke. Friends turned enemies, shunning glances and feigned smiles transformed into howls of despair. You think you deserve to be happy? Another specter jeered, and another echoed, you'll always be the loser. I'm not losing. Sarah shouted, her voice reverberating through the abyss. I'm fighting. I'm alive. The moment those words formed, her spirit ignited, pushing against the darkness. Jamie's supportive energy surged alongside her. Together, they became a whirlwind of brilliance, illuminating the oppressive shadows as if the light were a hammer smashing through darkness, but the ground shattered violently, a deep rift growing wider, revealing an abyss that shimmered with a haunting, unnatural light. What if you fall into the true despair? The whispers taunted again, more insistent this time, curling around her mind like icy fingers. No. Sarah's cry rang out, but doubt coiled more tightly. With every heartbeat, the chilling promise of the unseen depths weighed heavier. The fear of what lay below clawed at her resolve, gnawing at her senses. "Stay with me," Jamie yelled, and Sarah felt the pull of her friend's hope melding with her own. What if this was the defining moment where choices could build her future or drown her in despair? As Sarah faced the rolling darkness, she clenched her teeth and visualized a life filled with sunlight instead of shadows. "I choose to rise," she bellowed, willing herself to believe it as genuine strength coursed through her veins. Just when the abyss seemed insatiable, it erupted, pulling at her fiercely. Faces flashed before her: a helpless baby she once abandoned, the best friend she had let go of, a dreamer turned cynic. All the hopeful beginnings layered beneath layers of decisions, regrets, and heartbreak. "I'll face this," Sarah screamed, fighting against the grip of the darkness. But with each scream came echoes of laughter, an unseen chorus of doubt mocking her struggle. Fading into the ether came the sound of flapping wings, a ferocity stirring as if the forces of fate had aligned. A gust blasted past Sarah, brushing against her, carrying with it the muffled cries of lost souls, the chorus reminding her that the fight was only beginning. "Look out!" Jamie shouted, pushing Sarah aside just in time as a monstrous figure surged from the depths, looming above with glinting eyes aflame with rage. What horror awaited them now? Would it be a fight for liberation? Or the final plunge into unfathomable darkness? Fear gripped her heart like a vice, leaving Sarah questioning the validity of her choice. "Are you ready?" The shadowed figure boomed, its voice echoing through the chasm. In that moment, with gravity weighing heavy in the air, the truest definition of courage rose within her, an anchor against the tide. What would she do to prove she was more than her fears? As the creature's voice wrapped around her, one question loomed larger than them all: how far would Sarah go to claim her future? The monstrous figure loomed over them, its presence thickening the air. Sarah's throat constricted, a mixture of terror and disbelief flooding her senses. The creature looked like a twisted amalgamation of her past fears, each jagged shadow an echo of her mistakes, its features shifting into faces she recognized, friends, family, and the ghost of Ryan, all melded together in darkness. "Flee now," it hissed, its voice a cold whisper laced with malice, "before you drown in your own failures." Sarah felt Jamie's grip tighten, their fingers intertwined like an unyielding vine against the oncoming storm. "We've come too far to run," Jamie urged, face set with resolve even as the darkness encroached. "Too far?" The creature laughed, a cacophony of mocking voices. "Look around you. You're standing on the edge of oblivion. Is that the fight you chose?" With every taunt, the shadows seemed to pulse, feeding off her fear, wrapping around Sarah's limbs like tendrils of despair. Tears fell uncontrollably as memories cascaded down, blurring the boundary between reality and nightmares. She saw herself standing on a stage, bright lights illuminating her, only to hear the jeers and laughter as she faltered. The old feelings of inadequacy returned, crashing into her like waves against rocky shores. "No!" Sarah shouted, desperation flooding through her body. "I am not what you say I am." "Then prove it," the creature spat, its voice a dark symphony of doubt. "What will you sacrifice to escape your past?" The ground trembled again beneath her, the chasm opening wider, whispering its secrets of despair. Every heartache she had ever felt, every betrayal, every regret surged through her mind like an out-of-control wildfire. "Think about it, Sarah," Ryan's face emerged from the abyss, eyes glinting with contempt. "You didn't just give up on me. You turned your back on yourself. Just accept it. You're nothing without your failures. No. Sarah's voice cracked. You don't get to define me. She felt the warmth from within flicker, almost extinguishing under the weight of the shadows. But then Jamie squeezed her hand tighter, urging her to find the light dwelling deep inside. You have the power to reshape this, Jamie shouted against the chaos, grounding Sarah in their shared resolve. Suddenly, there was an eruption of light from within Sarah's heart, a beacon flaring against the encroaching darkness. It was small at first, but it spread like wildfire, engulfing everything in its path. A rush of memories poured out, ones that held the laughter of friends, the warmth of genuine connection, the moments of kindness bestowed upon her when she felt most lost. With each recollection, the figure began to waver, the taunts losing power against the swell of hope. Remember who you are. Jamie yelled, and Sarah's heart soared at the unwavering support. I am not defined by my failures. Sarah screamed, her voice strong. I am alive. As she channeled her energy into her words, the shadows recoiled, screeches of anger ripping through the air. But the light blossomed around them, illuminating the nightmare, shrinking the monstrous figure back into the depths. But fear still clung to Sarah's senses. What if it wasn't over? What if the darkness could rise again? The ground beneath her feet felt unstable. She could hear echoes, whispers of those who still doubted her. You're not strong enough. You don't belong here, they hissed. Will you rise again? The creature's voice echoed from the yawning chasm, stirring the fears it had planted within her. Can you truly claim what you seek? With a fierce determination, Sarah forced herself to stand tall, her heart thundering against the encroaching silence. As the chasm roared with renewed fury, a single question hung in the air, electrifying the space around them: what more would Sarah have to confront to finally conquer her past? The ground trembled violently beneath Sarah's feet. The creature loomed closer, shadows swirling around it like venomous snakes, a twisted mockery of everything she had faced, everything she feared. Panic clutched at her heart, making it race as she struggled to breathe past the rising tide of dread. Sarah! Jamie's voice screamed, slicing through the chaos like a lifeline. Do not let it take you. It's all wrong. It cannot define you. The shadows writhed momentarily, and Sarah felt the heat of that fierce connection wrap around her. She blinked back tears, refusing to let herself crumble before this nightmare again. Not now, not with the memories of laughter, warmth, and truth flickering in her heart like fire. I've lived in the dark for too long, she shouted, the words spilling out with newfound strength. You are not my master. The creature recoiled, surprise flashing in its glowing eyes. But it wasn't finished. It snarled, then prove it. You think this is merely a confrontation? This is your reckoning. What will you sacrifice to escape your past? The words hit like a punch. Sarah's mind flooded with tumultuous memories. The weight of unresolved guilt, the faces of lost friends, the strain in her heart from all those moments of failure, the tear-streaked face of Ryan materialized in her mind, and she flinched as he spat. You gave up on us both. No. Her voice echoed with fury. I didn't give up. I chose life. I chose me. The shadows pulsed, morphing again, twisting into a vortex swirling with painful recollections, each an embodiment of the fears she had tucked deep inside. But in that moment, she felt Jamie's supportive grip squeezing her hand tighter. Focus on what you believe, Sarah. Jamie's voice resonated, igniting a spark of defiance. With every ounce of courage she could muster, Sarah conjured the memories of their shared laughter, the promises made in the light of day, moments of love that once filled her heart with hope. I will not bow down to this darkness. She shouted, feeling the fire in her chest igniting into full blaze. I refuse to be marked by fear. As her words flowed, the dark mass began to teeter, flickering around. The faces of her regrets twisted, morphing into shapes of anguish struggling against the wave of her belief. Remember who you are, a fighter. Jamie urged, her voice unwavering. With that, Sarah stood firm, breathing deeply. I am not my mistakes. I am the strength I forge out of them. The light within her surged, pushing back the shadows closing in, blasting through with a bright intensity that shimmered like dawn breaking through a stormy sky. You think you can erase me, the creature roared, its voice degrading into a whirl of crackles and hissing. You will always carry your past. But it only fuels my light. Sarah declared, her voice rising above the cacophony. The brilliance radiating from her heart expanded in incandescent waves, consuming the darkness in ripples of fire. Each pulse echoed with the laughter of friends, family, and everything filleted from her soul. In that moment, she felt like she could take on the universe. The monstrous figure recoiled, shrieks of despair reverberating throughout the darkness. But even as the shadows retreated, Sarah sensed something deeper lurking, still hidden beneath the surface. Stay strong, and do not falter. Jamie shouted as she leaned in closer, her energy mingling with Sarah's. Only you can defeat the darkness. But just as Sarah's light began to blanket the encroaching shadows, the ground quaked violently again, causing the chasm underfoot to threaten to swallow them whole. Sarah. Jamie's voice was a beacon. Trust yourself. The haunting whispers returned, echoing insidiously through the cacophony. You can keep this up. This battle is endless. You are not enough. Shut up. Sarah screamed, wrath surging within her. I am enough. I choose me. With that proclamation, she harnessed the love she felt, the warmth from Jamie, and the encouragement she garnered as they lit up the darkness around her once more. Light radiated alive, consuming the void. Around them, pushing back against the darkness that sought to imprison her. As the shadows howled in defeat, a new wave of uncertainty crunched through the air. Something stirred deep within the chasm, dark tendrils creeping out like fingers grasping for her. Face it, Sarah. Jamie shouted, unwavering. Embrace your truth. Accept that it's okay to sometimes feel scared, but step pushing through. And she did. With a fierce roar, she stood upright, light blossoming fiercely in her chest and radiating out into the swirling shadows. As the dark mass closed in, she shouted, I've been afraid long enough. And guess what? I won. Go back. Breaking through the darkness, Sarah emerged victorious, standing alongside Jamie. Together, they formed an impenetrable wall of hope and strength, scattering the tormented hands of her doubts and fears. Light your way forward, Sarah, Jamie urged. And at that moment, Sarah felt at peace. She faced down her fears, reclaimed her voice, and every ounce of pain propelled her into the radiant future. Together, they stepped into the darkness, where the light would guide them, not away from their fears, but toward the true essence of those fears, the lessons, the growth, and the undeniable strength they had shaped together. The shadows may whisper, and doubts may linger, but as far as they were concerned, the light would always guide their way. Remember, we're never truly alone. Jamie smiled genuinely, merging her warmth with Sarah's newfound fire. As they forged ahead, Sarah felt her heart steady, the promise echoing in her mind. Today was not just a battle won, it was the beginning of real freedom, paving the way for all the hope and love that awaited on the horizon. And with that heart full of resilience and that unwavering bond, Sarah knew they could face whatever came next, hand in hand. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on these exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the content alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions, thoughts and theories about Sarah's journey, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this empowering conclusion. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel with these actions. Stand tall and be a part of this community.